Beyond the surface self. A profound spiritual teacher emphasizes the distinction between the surface self, the ego-driven identity, and the true self, which is the deeper awareness beneath thought and emotion. Most people live primarily identified with their surface self, which is shaped by roles, labels, beliefs, and external circumstances. This identification leads to stress, inner conflict, and a sense of incompleteness. Tolle teaches that the path to peace and fulfillment involves moving beyond the surface self to discover the deeper consciousness that observes, witnesses, and silently exists. By recognizing the difference between the transient egoic identity and the unchanging presence within, one can experience freedom, clarity, and authentic life. 1. Understanding the surface self. The surface self is the egoic persona we project to the world. It includes social roles, parent, employee, friend, partner. Personal achievements and failures. Opinions, beliefs, and preferences. Emotional patterns and habitual reactions. The surface self is deeply tied to external validation. It thrives on recognition, comparison, and approval, which makes it fragile and anxious. When circumstances challenge the surface self, suffering arises. Fear, anger, guilt, or shame emerge because the ego is threatened. Tolle emphasizes that this self is not inherently bad, it is necessary for navigating the world, but it should not be mistaken for the totality of our being. 2. The illusion of identification. One of the main causes of suffering is mistaking the surface self for the true self. When we identify with thoughts, emotions, and roles, we react automatically to life events. Seek happiness in external achievements. Fear loss or change. Judge ourselves harshly. Tolle points out that the mind reinforces this illusion by constantly labeling, narrating, and attaching stories to experiences. The more we identify with this narrative, the more we are trapped in unconsciousness. Recognizing this illusion is the first step in moving beyond the surface self. 3. Observing the surface self. The practice of presence allows us to observe the surface self without judgment. Tolle encourages watching thoughts and emotions as they arise. Noticing habitual reactions without labeling them good or bad. Becoming aware of the patterns that define the egoic identity. Through observation, we create a space of awareness. This space is the first indication of the true self, the silent presence that witnesses life without being consumed by it. 4. The true self. The true self, according to Tolle, is the unchanging awareness beneath thought and emotion. It is still and formless. Not defined by roles or achievements. Free from judgment and attachment. Always present, even amidst change. While the surface self reacts to life, the true self observes and experiences life. This awareness is the source of inner peace, joy, and clarity. 5. Moving beyond identification. Moving beyond the surface self is not about rejecting the ego but disidentifying from it. Practical ways include A. Mindful presence. Focus attention on the present moment. Notice thoughts and emotions without getting lost in them. B. Observing reactions. When triggered, pause and witness the reaction. Ask, is this reaction me, or is it the surface self responding? C. Recognizing impermanence. Understand that thoughts, emotions, and roles are temporary. Realize that your core awareness remains untouched. Through these practices, the ego loses its compulsive grip, and the space of presence expands. 6. Freedom from the surface self. Freedom emerges when we stop defining ourselves by external circumstances or internal narratives. Tolle emphasizes that true identity is not dependent on achievements, failures, or social approval. Happiness and peace are not contingent on external conditions. The surface self can coexist with the true self without dominating it. This freedom is profound. Even in challenging circumstances, one can remain anchored in conscious awareness, responding rather than reacting. 7. Ego and the pain body. Tolle introduces the concept of the pain body, which is the accumulated emotional pain of the surface self. The pain body feeds on identification with negative emotions and past trauma. When we are identified with the surface self, the pain body easily takes over. Observing the surface self without judgment reduces the pain body's power. Conscious awareness interrupts cycles of reactive suffering. By witnessing rather than engaging with the pain body, we transcend habitual patterns and access the deeper self. 8. Relationships and the surface self. Relationships often trigger the surface self, revealing patterns of egoic attachment, control, or fear. Tolle teaches. Notice when reactions in relationships stem from the surface self. Observe judgments, expectations, or projections onto others. Respond from the true self, not the egoic persona. When we act from awareness rather than ego, relationships become more authentic, compassionate, and peaceful. 9. Inner stillness and silence. A key tool for moving beyond the surface self is cultivating inner stillness. Meditation or silent reflection allows the mind to settle. Silence reveals the awareness that underlies thoughts and emotions. Regular practice strengthens the connection to the true self. In stillness, the surface self loses its dominance, and one experiences life directly, without filters or attachments. 10. Practical exercises. A. Witnessing exercise. Sit quietly for 10 to 15 minutes. Observe thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations. Notice the difference between awareness and content. B. Daily check-in. Throughout the day, pause and ask, am I reacting from the surface self or responding from awareness? This cultivates mindfulness and self-observation. C. Letting go of labels. Notice the labels you assign to yourself: smart, shy, busy, anxious. Recognize they are not your essence, let them dissolve. D. Conscious breathing. Focus on your breath to anchor attention. Use it to return to awareness whenever the surface self dominates. 11. Integrating presence into daily life. Engage fully in every task while remaining aware of the observer within. Notice habitual reactions and replace them with conscious responses. Accept change, impermanence, and uncertainty without resistance. Cultivate gratitude, compassion, and openness through presence. Integration allows the true self to shine through ordinary life, transforming every moment into opportunity for awakening. 12. Spiritual implications. Tolle teaches that moving beyond the surface self is essential for spiritual growth. The surface self is bound by time, judgment, and duality. The true self is timeless, formless, and whole. Awakening involves shifting identification from ego to awareness. When the surface self is no longer dominant, one experiences deep inner peace, freedom from compulsive thinking and emotional reactivity, a sense of unity with life and consciousness. 13. The journey beyond the surface. The path beyond the surface self is gradual. Tolle reminds us that ego patterns will arise repeatedly. Awareness is cultivated through consistent presence and observation. Each moment of conscious witnessing strengthens connection to the true self. Over time, the surface self loses its grip, allowing authenticity, freedom, and joy to flourish naturally. 14. Conclusion. Living beyond the surface self is not about rejection but transcendence. Eckhart Tolle's guidance shows that the surface self is temporary, shaped by thought, emotion, and circumstance. The true self is eternal, formless, and ever-present. By observing, disidentifying, and cultivating presence, one experiences freedom from egoic suffering. Beyond the surface self lies a life of clarity, peace, and authentic joy. Every moment becomes a chance to awaken to the awareness that is already within us, allowing us to live fully, freely, and consciously.